Hi everyone, welcome back. Happy spring! First things first when it comes to spring in the growing dome is re-engaging those vent openers. Remember how I told you to put these in a place that you wouldn't forget them? Then you'll want to just make sure that you keep these in a safe spot. I'm going to make sure that you don't lose this because the bayless won't work without it. Now's the time we need to break them back out. So this is the bayless opener in the 22. I'm going to go ahead and just push the vent up to release some of the pressure off of the piston. Slide this adjuster nut back in and tighten. I'm going to tighten this about halfway down to the threads, and then we should be good to go. That's going to be the name of the game today, is just doing some spring updates, getting ready for our spring gardens, and we'll go ahead and get into what we're planting in here and what is already growing. This dome in particular was unheated throughout the winter, so we grew primarily cold hardy crops. So you can see we have our beets that are back here, which are finishing up. We have already harvested some of those. We have Swiss chard that's doing very well. We also have leeks that are planted pretty much all the way around the perimeter of the dome. But since it is spring, we are gearing up for those warm weather crops. So behind me, we do have some cucumbers that are started, which we will end up trellising to help provide shade in this dome. I'm gonna go ahead and re-engage this vent opener while we're here. This is the univent, so it's nice and easy. Boop. Now this will open when it gets to about 65 degrees. We have carrots, we've got spinach over here that we've been harvesting all winter long. We have peas, and we also have some lavender cauliflower sprinkled throughout this dome, which will be really pretty. We have some flowers starting to come up, so we have salvia over here, and we also have these beautiful poppies, which are actually perennials. So what will happen is we'll go ahead and move these outside once they're done flowering, and that way they'll come back year after year, and we'll clear up this bed for some more planting. Mixed in with the poppies, we have lots of onions, which will be harvested in a couple of months. And over here, we have our root vegetables that are finishing off. So we have our carrots, we have some parsnips, and this is interspersed. We have alternating lavender cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, as well as this beautiful pink celery. Spring is potato planting time. So we are going to be planting some sprouted potatoes in these grow bags. And we like to plant our potatoes in grow bags because it gives us the flexibility to move them around. In our climate, here in a couple of weeks, these can actually go outside. So this just gives us a little bit more flexibility, but you can plant them directly in your raised beds as well. So these are 7-gallon grow bags, but you can use 10-gallon as well. Any larger than that, they get a little bit harder to move around once they are full. So we're just gonna roll these down a little bit. And with potatoes, you wanna start with 2 inches of either compost or soil in the bottom of the pot. And then we're gonna put our potatoes with the sprouts facing upwards, and we're gonna top them with another 4 inches. You can use a 50-50 mix of soil and compost, or you could just use straight compost. About the same amount of compost in each of these bags. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our potatoes in. So we want to plant them with the sprouts facing up. So we're just gonna nestle them in the compost and soil that we just added to our bags. So I'm gonna put 6 potatoes per bag. And then once we have these guys placed in here, we're gonna top with an additional 4 inches of compost. I'm just gonna go ahead and water these in now. And as these begin to grow, as you can see here, we are going to continue to fill them with more compost, and you'll know they're ready to harvest once all of the greens have died back. So we were just in our 22-foot growing dome. Now we're in our 26, and we're gonna talk about one of our winter experiments. So these are carrot seeds. Well, they're carrots. They were carrot seeds, and we planted these directly in the soil in the 22. We have to thin things when we direct sow them, and anything that germinates in the wintertime is a great success. So what we did was we actually transplanted some of the carrots that we thinned into this dome, and they are doing great. They're not quite ready to harvest yet, but they are growing successfully. So other things that we have growing in here, we have our lemon tree, which has some new buds growing. We have some fennel over here, which is beautiful and delicious. It tastes kind of like licorice. We've got some more beets down here. And then we have trimmed back our rubber tree, but it is again starting to bud out. This guy kind of takes over in the summer. We have some more collards over here. And then we have these beautiful purple Phacelia. These are actually a great green manure, so you can actually turn these into the soil when it's time to plant your next round of seeds, and they will decompose and help to enrich the soil with nutrients. One thing that you want to keep in mind with these, and borage in particular, is to pinch off the flowers before they go to seed, otherwise they will reseed themselves. So we do still have seedlings in trays, which are above our pond, and we also have some more cool weather crops here in the corner by the pond. We've got our peas and carrots because those just go together. And then over here we have our avocado. This is a new addition, and we are going to be transplanting this into our 33 in the springtime once that gets built. So for now, he's just chilling in here. We do need to trim off these two lower branches. These are called suckers, and this will kind of take away from the energy production of the plant, and we want it to focus on growing the tree itself. But avocados are a great plant for growing domes. You may need to heat your dome if you do decide to grow an avocado and you live in a cold climate. They like warmer temperatures. But we'll be doing an article all about that, so you can check it out on our blog. So we do have some various lettuces, we have some kale, we've got chard growing in the center, we have some more peas and lettuce over here, and around our perimeter we have the same. We do have some flowers on the edge, and then we have our fig tree. I did recently just trim this back. The best time to trim your fig trees is in early spring, and you can already see that it is starting to bud. So I'm tightening the adjuster nut on this vent here. One thing that you want to keep in mind when you're re-engaging your vents is to adjust your restraining cords. So go ahead and just make sure that they're nice and secure and that they are loose enough that your vent will be able to open, but if the wind happens to catch them, it's a fail-safe. All right, so in the 26 we have Gigavents as the upper vent openers, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall our piston, push up on the vent to relieve some of the pressure, and twist it in. Pro tip, your pistons are going to be a lot easier to install when they are cold, so you can pop them in the freezer for 30 minutes or so to make sure that they're contracted before you try to install them. So before I move on to the next dome, I did want to talk about the garlic that we have planted outside. This garlic was planted in mid-October, and it has been mulched over with the corn husks that we grew in our 42. And this garlic is just now starting to bud up, as you can see here, and we're going to compare it to the garlic that we started months later in the 18. So this garlic was actually planted in mid-December, and you can see how much taller it is compared to the other garlic that's outside. So this will be ready a few months earlier than the garlic that we planted outside, even though we planted it a few months later. So we also have some other cold hardy crops that are finishing off, and we're starting some more seeds. So over here we have a seed starting tray with a capillary mat. What's really nice about this kind of system is that it has a mat underneath, so you can go ahead and put your water and your nutrients in the bottom, and your plants will absorb them as they continue to grow. So besides our new seeds that we're starting, we are also treating our ponds once a week with a barley extract. This is a great product to use for maintaining algae growth and clarity in the pond. If you do have a more severe algae or muck problem, we do sell a pond care kit online that you can check out and will help you. Besides our pond treatments, we have some cucumbers that we've started, which are resting in front of the pond because this is the warmest area and these guys love heat. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to go ahead and plant them so that they will trellis above and create shade in this dome. We are also utilizing our hydroponics table. So right now we are growing a salad mix here, as well as our rosemary, and I believe these are iris. They might be gladiolus, I could be wrong. But these are going to be great. You can start things in your hydroponics table and then transfer them into soil when you're ready. In our 15-foot dome is where we transplanted and direct sowed the seeds in our last video. So I'll link that at the end of this one if you missed it. You can see our Romanesco that we transplanted has almost doubled in size, if not tripled, and we have planted some albino beets in and around it, which will benefit from the shade as this plant continues to grow. So right here we have our carrots that we direct sowed. You can see they have germinated, and I have already thinned them out. We could do a little bit more thinning, but I'm going to let them just grow a little bit more before we do that. We also have some chard in this dome that has overwintered, but since the temperatures are increasing, we are having some bolting happening here, which means that this chard plant is going to seed. We could let this continue to go if we wanted to save the seeds for future use, but we actually have some chard starts that we started in trays earlier that we're going to go ahead and transplant today. So we have deep watered this garden bed before we've started our transplanting process. So that means that we have given this a really good soak to make sure that the water has absorbed into the depths of the bed. We're going to go ahead and top it with a really high grade compost or a super soil. And once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and dig our holes and get things planted. So these are some orange chard plants, and we're going to plant these in the back towards the polycarbonate. Just going to go ahead and lay everything out before I put it in the dirt. This guy has a few plants in here, so I'm going to pick the strongest one, and we'll just plant him. Next, we're going to go ahead and do some lettuce, and I'm going to plant this in the front row here. So this is some spinach, and I'm going to go ahead and plant this in the corner over here. Put one back here. Just going to kind of fill in this little corner. So to recap, I'm going to put the chard in the back. I've made sure to space these out to leave enough space for the plants when they grow to maturity. We're going to put some spinach back here in the corner, as well as up front here by the pond. We have a Brussels sprout already, some chives, some arugula, and a green choy. And then we're going to do lettuce here in the front, and we're also going to plant a marigold. We like to incorporate these to help us with pests. Let's go ahead and get these in the dirt. Thank you so much for following along today as we have done some spring chores around here. This is personally my favorite time of year because this means that the winter cold is gone, except it's the Rocky Mountains, so we may still get a snowstorm here or there. We hope that you learned some new things and that you got inspired to get your hands dirty in your own garden. You can subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like this video to follow along for future updates.